woohoo.
You love that little woo.
I know, right? You need a woohoo to start every podcast. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. The latest episode of Mambition. I'm your
Yeah.
host, Tiffany.
And I'm Alex. And this is the second one in a week.
Wow, we're on fire, man. I'm loving this for us. I was like, you better. I said to Mark, my husband, I said, you better take your kids. I'm going upstairs to do my thing.
Well, yeah, I've frantically got mine to sleep. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure you guys can relate. But yeah, we just want to, spend a few minutes today really going into, especially with it being Mother's Day, especially in the UK anyway. I don't know what date is it in America or other countries, but with it being Mother's Day in the UK, we really wanted to record this short episode and just talk about like finding joy in the chaos. I mean, there's so much motherhood means to so many people. So yeah, we just want to wish you a happy Mother's Day and kind of share how our perspectives has changed with motherhood and how you can find joy in the chaos and I don't know, just every wonderful thing it brings, right?
Yeah, for sure. And, we are going to share a few reflections as well, because I think we know that, for some people, Mother's Day is a bit difficult. And so, yeah, we just want to get that out there straight away that if Mother's Day is hard for you, then maybe this is one not to listen to. But
I think listen. We're just like we see you, we acknowledge you. Yeah, because I think, like you said, I mean, there's so many types of Mother's Day, right? Some people have lost their mom, some people maybe have lost their child. Some people, there's so many types of Mother's Day. And I think whatever Mother's Day you're having, it's okay. Like don't compare your Mother's Day to someone else's or Instagram reels. Just have your own type of Mother's Day and find whatever will make you feel okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah, just whatever. Like, don't expect anything. Yeah, I'll let you take the floor, Alex.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were going to go first, but
you know what? I will go first with an interesting fact. Let's put some history to this, right? So I actually I looked into the history of Mother's Day. Did you know that Mother's Day originated from the Middle Ages?
I did not know that.
So children who had left their families to work in domestic service, they were allowed to go home and to their mother, like the church. And then over time, it became a spring occasion for families to reunite. Then it became a custom of children actually picking flowers on the way home for their mother. And then obviously now in 2023, it's become this commercial buying candles and crap.
It's 2024, Tiffany.
Oh, should I? See? Our brain. But yeah, it's become this obviously commercial thing. But I think it's interesting to think about the history of it. And I'm sure it started off very simple. But
yeah, that it actually had a real reason and a purpose. But yeah. I do think it's still nice to have a day to celebrate mothers. I think essentially because to make you feel appreciated for all those little things that you do that actually you feel like nobody really notices. And I don't know. I think for me, I still am of the mindset that kind of Mother's Day is about getting my mum something, getting my mother-in-law something. And it's even though it's been, 3 years now, I'm still kind of like, oh, this is a day for me as well.
That's true. That is true, actually, because I think we tend to, I don't know if you're like that, but sometimes I even normalize at Mother's Day. I'm like, no, it's fine. I just want to, because you're so used to the structure, this routine of doing something for everybody. So I think you are right. I've actually had to force myself to be celebrated today. I know it sounds really sad, but I think sometimes I'm like, no, it's fine. We don't need to do anything special. But my husband's like forced us to, for example, go out for lunch, and it's been nice to feel like, oh wow, it's Mother's Day, it's about me, So yeah, I think you're right, because we do so much for everybody else, right? Yeah,
definitely. So what does Mother's Day mean for you?
Wow, what a question. Mother's Day, I mean, I'll put it into context, right? So I lost my mum 25 years ago, actually, which obviously feels like forever, right? So again, this is probably can resonate with some people who might have lost their mom. So, and that's really shaped my motherhood journey a lot. I think it blows my mind to think like we're now having a similar experience. So my mom died when she was 38, I'm 35, and it makes me think, wow, we're actually at a parallel time of our lives.
Mm.
That's really crazy because my mom died when I was 9. So I do think about it a lot, and I'm going to be, upfront now. I will probably talk about death a lot, and I know it sounds quite morbid, but I hopefully will share in an uplifting way, because I think for me, death has just become quite a normal thing because I've experienced it quite closely, and I've had a few people around me sort of pass away. So I don't see death as this kind of dark thing. I see it as just a natural, process of life. So yeah, I think that's shaped me a lot about my Mother's Day. But I think the one thing is, for me, I just feel really grateful, I feel
Mm.
really grateful to be here. I feel really grateful to have children. I feel really grateful to be a mom. I feel grateful that I'm having an experience that my mom, sadly, hers was cut short.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think a lot of times, in my day to day, when I should feel stressed, I do tend to pause a bit and be, wow, like, yes, they're both, both my children are crying right now. Yes, they're both stressing about something. Yes, I feel a little bit anxious, but actually, wow, I'm alive. And I pinch myself and I say, wow, this is incredible. So yeah, that's really been a key thing for me. What about you and your like motherhood journey, and what shapes that, Alex?
Yeah, well, I can really get on board with. I guess what you're saying there is like it helps you in some ways to like seize the joy
Yeah.
out of everyday experiences, because you kind of feel lucky to have them. Is that kind of what you're saying there?
Yeah, I think so. Just kind of like, I feel like it's a privilege just because I know, again, like, my it was taken to, I mean, for example, I mean, my brother was 2 when my mom passed away, and my
Oh,
son's 3. Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like, it's so visceral, so real. And I'm like, wow, like,
yeah.
it's 3. Wow, yes, thank you, Lord, for another year, another day. So yeah, I think it's just like gratitude, like, wow, this is a lot, but it's incredible. It's a good way to spend my life. I think that's what I get. Yeah. What about you
Yeah.
in terms of like, yeah, just how you see it in that way?
So I can empathize with I haven't lost my mum, she's still here, but I
Mhm.
can empathize with, I guess, some of the stuff about seizing life and enjoying it. I think, not sure, maybe in the first episode I mentioned briefly that I had a bit of a rubbish pregnancy. So at 20 weeks, my son was diagnosed with having it's a rare condition. It's called CCAM, and it's congenital. Well, it's known as CCAM and CPAM, and it's congenital pulmonary airway malformation. So basically, part of your lungs not developing right. So it's full of non-cancerous tumor. And so I found that out at 20 weeks. And I went to that scan just kind of like, la 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 la. Oh, I'm going to find out whether it's a boy or a girl. Like, I remember I was like watching this morning in the waiting room, and this was all in the middle of COVID. So I was like in there by myself. And I honestly, like my sister had said to me the night before, are you worried about the scan? And I'd said, well, I know it's called the anomaly scan, but like, I'm sure it'll be fine. Like, I'm quite a positive person. So I went into that scan, and I literally, fortunately, Eddie was allowed to come in for the actual scan, but I was told during that, oh, I'm just going to get somebody else in. And at that point, they said it's nothing to worry about, and I was like, okay, nothing to worry about. They've said nothing to worry about, so I was just sort of still there thinking like, oh, it's fine. And then somebody else came in. There was a lot of silence, and then they basically said, oh, there's something in the lung that we've never seen before. That actually the woman really lovely. She said, I've never seen this in 20 years of like scanning anyone.
Wow.
I can't tell you what it is. There's something in the lung that shouldn't be there. Um, you'll have to wait to see a consultant. So, like, at that point, I felt like I was just going to pass out. And then from then on, my pregnancy was pretty terrible. We waited to see a consultant. They couldn't tell us anymore. We got referred to like maternal fetal medicine at like a different hospital. And then we had to go. Fortunately, they could tell us straight away what it was, but they were like, we see a couple of cases of this a year. It's not common. I think it's like 1 in 30,000 babies. Fortunately, it's got quite good prognosis. So there's like a really dicey bit during the pregnancy where basically they can get something called high drops, and the pregnancy would come to an end, or would be very likely to come to an end. So you have to go and be scanned like every week. So basically, I had like the worst start to having a child. When he was born, he was okay, seemingly, and then he had to be in special care. And that was all really tough. And I've had counseling to like cope with that. And when he was 1, he had an operation and he had 2/3 of his left lung removed. And now, I mean, Tiffany, you can vouch for this. You would have no idea. He's like the most boisterous, crazy little child ever.
I reserve my comment. It's just a life of the party. I'm like, I can just okay. So the picture I have of Ted, at Sebastian's little birthday get together, a very casual mini birthday. It was coming down the slide thing, and he had his legs up, and I was like, "Oh, Ted, that is the picture of Ted I see." It's like he's so daring, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really daring. He's like very physically active. He's very noisy. He's very non-shy. He's go all the time. But for me, I think my reflections of motherhood and how I feel about motherhood are really shaped by that. It was obviously a really negative experience to start it off. I like didn't stop crying for like the rest of my pregnancy, and I was like signed off work for it. Like couldn't do anything really. And so I always go back to that. I always think like, God, I'm so lucky to have this crazy, wild, hard work little child, because, you know, even at the times when he is being a bit trying because he is so high energy, I think if someone had told me that this would be what I actually get to experience as a mother, I wouldn't have believed them. I couldn't have seen that it was going to be so amazing. So I know what you mean about seizing the joy. It was hard for sure. But I think that it has made me more appreciative of like, God, everything turned out all right. And like, I know that I'm lucky. I know that that's not necessarily the experience you might have. It might not end that well. And, you know, we've still had to go through him having major surgery, etc. But it's all behind us now. So I really do try and kind of seize the joy and kind of do that just by being silly. I let him play with water at the sink all the time, and like it's all going on the floor and stuff like that. But I just think that's fine. It'll dry up.
Yeah, but that's it. I think you're right there, Alex. It's just been aware that they need that silliness, and I think sometimes we're so serious, right? We think we're so serious, and it's like they're just children. And they need to live out their childhood and silliness, because they will progress to being adults and having to be a little bit serious too, right? You know, adulting. But thanks for sharing that, because I think I do remember you going through that, and we like praying for you, and it's amazing to see just how energetic and happy.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have no idea because he is.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's exactly that.
Like the only limitation on him as well is he wouldn't be able to do a combat role in the armed forces. So I'm like, oh my God, amazing.
Man, you're missing out. You're missing out, Ted. What?
Like he wouldn't pass the medical, and I'm like, isn't that every mother's dream?
Like, I won't do that. There's a conversation for this for another time. I won't even bring this up, because if I say what I'm about to say, it will take the conversation down a rabbit hole. Okay. But that's I mean, we're probably not alone in this. I think everyone has a different experience of motherhood. You know, you go on Instagram, you see these beautiful children smiling with their mothers, and that's not Mother's Day, man. That's just someone's perfect, clipped, orchestrating moment of a tiny piece of their motherhood story. You know, I think we're not the only ones who have maybe some sort of rocky start to motherhood, right? And and if you're listening to this and you have some sort of unique motherhood experience, it's okay. Like, just live your own. Don't allow. Just. I think the key to me. I mean, I thought of a quote, right? Tough times don't last. Tough people do, right? So everything that we're going through is shaping us. I think it's especially as mothers, we have so much more power than we realize, and we're so much more able to deal with life and the vicissitudes of life, simply because we're really strong in individuals, and I think that's really important to think about.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you're right. It is everyone's got experiences that shape them. Everyone's got different bits of motherhood that they find hard, and I think we did really want to focus on like, how do you you know, focus on the joy, really enjoy spending time with your kids. How do you have that kind of fun? How do you enjoy every minute of it? And
Yeah.
probably enjoying every minute of it isn't possible. You know,
No.
there are going to be times you're going to be
Easier
frustrated
said than done. It's
pulling your hair out. But, you know, we were talking about trying not to take ourselves seriously and, you know, deciding if your kid's getting covered it, like Ted can get so dirty so quickly. It's like, and I know Sebastian doesn't like that.
no. Oh no, he's so like organized and clean, and he's so almost OCD. But we'll see how that kind of, I'll see how that you know goes with time. Yeah, it definitely is very tidy and very like, it can't stand dirt. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but like with Ted, I just think, you know, sometimes in the past I would have been like, oh no, you're getting dirty. And now I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's only clothes.
Yeah.
Grow out of them quick enough anyway. So just letting them kind of have that space. And I have a real instinct to be like, no, I don't want to do that because it's going to make a mess. So like crafts
Yes.
and stuff like that. I'm happy for them to paint at nursery and do sand at nursery. And actually, that's one thing that I've had to like just make myself get over a bit, because he doesn't care about the mess. For him, it's really fun. And actually, you know, our kids have both watched that video about making a volcano.
Yes.
We've started making a volcano this afternoon, even though that's a really messy craft to do.
Yeah, but you know, you're right. I think also, I mean, even for me, sometimes I've had a bit of like this need to organize the house and keep it tidy and keep the toys in the box. But the more I think about it, I'm like, why am I trying to keep their box and their toys in this organized, box, when toys are there to be played with, right? So it's like, I think one thing I've noticed is that your house needs to be messy whilst you have young kids. I think sometimes we struggle with that because we're like, oh my God, so many toys everywhere. But that's the point of being a child. They want to play. Children learn by playing. They don't learn by learning or sitting there with a book and paper. So I think sometimes we forget that. Like, they just want to play with one thing and play with another. And it's chaotic. And I think I'm learning now that toys around the house, it's a reflection that they're having a great childhood because they're playing. They need to play.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I do tidy nearly all of them up once Ted's in bed. We've got like certain things like a doll's house and stuff like that that stay out. But generally, I do try and put everything away once he's asleep. But I'm not trying to tidy up while he's around, because I think just let him play with it.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing, like one thing that I've found really helps me as well is gratitude. So I've learned to feel grateful in times when things are a little bit intense. So I don't know, like I'm just thinking about like coping mechanisms, right? In terms of things that I've adopted that's helped me to. So for example, when I'm with them, I think for one, that's because I spend a lot of time with older people. I don't know, we live in an area, right? So I live in the northeast. We live in an area where it's like we're the youngest on our street. So I quite like that because I'm always around like really old people across the road. You know, this person is 70 something, this person's got dementia. And it's actually been quite interesting for me just to see, I'd be able to see further down the road. I think it's given me a lot of perspective. And what that's really developed to me is gratitude. So for example, on Friday, we were at this lady's house across the road. She's a really lovely neighbor. And she's in her 70s and her husband died, I think, 5 years ago, and she really misses him. She actually says, you know, Tiffany, I really miss him. And on the mantelpiece was a picture of them when they were in the 20s. And it was the most beautiful picture. And I thought, wow. And I just listened to her talk about him. And I thought, wow, like having moments like that, experiencing that, talking to other people, it's made me realize that we sweat the small stuff because you're in the moment when they're both crying, oh, what is this like? They're both crying, oh my, but then in those moments, I think about the older people. I think about the things they say to me. They say to me, this is just a chapter of your life. Everyone I've met have told me, this will pass, like this will fly. And because I have that perspective, it's allowed me in that moment of they're both crying. I'm like, why are you both crying? I fed you both. And I'm not even fed yet. I've been able to almost like, I know it sounds really crazy and a bit like out there, but I've been able to bit like almost zoom out of that moment and see it from like a universe perspective. And I'm like, wow, like this is just a tiny moment of our lives. And they're both crying. It means they can't express themselves. And that's okay. And I'm like, I've actually been able to even almost smile in times. And I think this is just what children do. And I think you need that. You need that ability. Otherwise, sometimes they cry so much like you think you will lose your mind because they're like, "Why are you crying? You're fed." What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I sometimes do that where I'm kind of looking at Ted and thinking, this is the stuff that you need to remember. And even when it's quite trying, or when I've been woken up really early and we're like lying in bed trying not to get out of bed yet, I look at him and I kind of think, I won't get to do this forever. He's not going to want to like get in here and cuddle forever. And at some point I'll miss that. And he probably won't, like hopefully, be like an adult man who won't want to cuddle with his mother in bed. I'm aiming for normal, like in how I'm raising them. But that kind of thing, and also like Eddie sometimes like, why are you carrying him? Like if he says he wants to be carried downstairs, and I'm like, at some point, he's going to be too heavy for me to carry, and then I'm going to think like, why didn't I just do it?
More.
So I do try and be mindful of that, of like, this isn't forever, and you've got to enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, where do you get that from? Yeah, I was going to say, do you get that from like being around your older parents? Just what I mean, like, where do you get that?
So I think it's hearing like my parents talk fondly about stuff we did as kids, even if it's like stories about how like I was quite a naughty kid. I think like basically I had undiagnosed ADHD, so everyone just thought I was really naughty, but actually there was a reason for it. But like some of the naughty things we used to get up to, my parents talk about that like quite fondly now, about like, ha ha ha, well, how funny was it when you did whatever crazy thing I'd led my brother astray into. But yeah, so like that kind of thing, they talk about it now and they're like, ah, ha, ha. And you can see that they are genuinely like reminiscing about times when I wasn't particularly well behaved. Like to them, like that's kind of like the good old days. Like, I think that if you think about the time that people normally reflect on, it's that time when they're young parents and their kids were little. And it's that cliche of everyone like, oh, it goes so fast.
Yeah.
But I think you really have to be kind of laser focused on that, of like not quite being nostalgic before it's passed, because I think you could get yourself into that kind of headspace. But instead of being like nostalgic for something that hasn't finished yet, just trying to appreciate it.
That's
like
beautiful, Alex. That's absolutely, I love that. I just want to take a moment just to take that in. That's really good stuff you've just said. Wow. Yeah. That's
so like I will lie and just look at Ted in bed and think like, oh, aren't you cute? And like, this is really nice getting to lie here with you, and I should really appreciate it. And I think as well, because I did some counselling for like my pregnancy, which involved a bit of like gratitude journaling and stuff like that. And actually, I found that lovely. I found it really nice. And it's something that even though I've finished doing that counselling and CBT now, I still, do that. Maybe not every day, but every couple of days I'm thinking like, oh, I really enjoyed doing that. Or, we had a nice meal all together and, we actually sat down together and ate it, and just stuff like that. It's nothing profound. It's like the little bits of life, but the things that sort of make your day worth living.
Oh, I love that. No, but it's true. I think the bigger picture of like my husband says, the minutiae of life. You do lose clarity. You lose clarity on the bigger picture. You lose clarity that time flies. Like time will fly. You lose clarity that they're not little forever. They will become independent. You lose clarity, and I think it's important to zero in on the moments. Because when we're on our deathbed or whatever, again, sorry guys, I'm that woman's so morbid. But you will these are the moments we will think about. We're like, wow, do you remember when they were little and they did this, and this is it? So yeah, I think I hope that will have imparted some sort of perspective on this whole motherhood. And this is what Mother's Day is about. It's about taking that moment to take a step back and just allow yourself to simmer in the miracle that is being a mother.
Yeah, completely agree. Somebody told me early on in pregnancy, not pregnancy, motherhood,
Yes.
the days are long, but the years are short. And like,
Oh,
I've never heard that before.
That's
That even
gorgeous.
though I think it's like clearly a very old phrase, but it really resounded with me, and I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I totally get that sentiment, and yeah.
Wow, that's a beautiful way to end this. Alex, mic drop. I have nothing to say. That's shocking. Wow, thank you.
Okay.
Alex.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you all. Have a fantastic one, whatever you're doing. Take care, guys, and see you for the next episode.